Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV channel 761. How's everybody doing here on this Wednesday, the 11th of May, here 2022. Glad you could be with us here on the Belly Up Sports community. Wanted to take this time out real quick to say hello to everybody watching us live on Belly Up Sports and live on my Twitter feed, my Facebook page as well. And again, want to thank everybody for joining me here on this Wednesday night. We got a great show planned for you tonight. We're going to talk a little NFL draft, Detroit Lions style, with Jensen Riffel coming up here shortly at about 7:05 as he'll stop by. He's from Pro Football Focus. We will talk a little draft. We'll take a look at the schedule coming up and everything Detroit Lions here as the schedule releases tomorrow. Just another step in the offseason of NFL football. It never sleeps anymore, does it? And so after that, we'll talk a little NHL Playoffs. The Stanley Cup first round is kicking up, and we've got some great series going on. A couple of surprises lurking out there. Could Edmonton really get beat by the Kings? Could the Florida Panthers really lose to the Washington Capitals? And we'll touch on the NBA playoffs. I think all of those second-round matchups are all 2-2. I think that's the first time that has ever happened. And finally, tonight, we'll take a look at the passing of one of my early all-time heroes in sports growing up. Bob Lanier. He passed away last night at the age of 73. We'll talk about that here coming up towards the end of the broadcast here tonight. So want to thank everybody for joining me here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Episode 2 podcast style. You can catch us on our YouTube channel, which is the Captain Lou Sports Network. I invite you to subscribe to that. We're going to have some incentive for you to do that. That's coming up a little bit later on in May. We're going to announce that as well, as we try to build up our listenership, our Captain Lou Extravaganza fan club, if you will. We'll come up with a good name for that as well, but we're going to have some prizes to give away for that throughout the summer into the fall, which will lead to my newest, or I should say my annual edition of the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge. For those of you that have watched my show over the years, we do a six-pack challenge where we pick college and pro football games against the spread. And you can be a part of it. If you can beat my picks, then you will win some great prizes at the end of the year. So can't wait to get that going as well. But I wanted to take a time out to thank Mike and Blaine and everybody at Belly Up Sports for welcoming me into the community, into the network. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. Get a chance to speak to some new listeners and hopefully the ones that have followed me throughout my podcast years. Starting out with my tag team partner, Matt Gamlin, who I will have on from time to time here. We'll talk a little pro wrestling with him. He's also a big NBA and soccer fan and NFL fan. We'll get him on throughout the year as well. So we hope that you enjoy it. For those of you that are watching me for the first time, welcome aboard the Captain Lou Extravaganza train. We hope you enjoy the show. We'll be on for about an hour on the broadcast, and we'll be on tonight live until 8 o'clock here on Twitter and on Facebook, and again, my YouTube channel, which is the Captain Lou Sports Network, and also here on the Belly Up Sports community. So again, coming up shortly, Jensen Riffle is going to join us from Pro Football Focus. He's one of my Lion insiders. He was down earlier this year at the Combine, and we talked about that about a month ago, and that was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll bring that up again as well. We're going to talk Detroit Lions NFL draft. I personally thought they had a pretty good draft. But I think that every year, for those of you that know me, I am a Detroit Lions apologist. I know I'm a masochist. Call it whatever you want. But that's what I am. As, one of these years they're going to break through. What is it now? 65 years and counting that they haven't won the Super Bowl. What has it been? 31 years since they've won a playoff game. But I'll be right there rooting them on. And so Jensen's going to talk to us about at least the top three drafts. We'll go through the draft. I think they made some great picks. The top three rounds, I should say, as they had a couple of picks in that opening round as well. And as I mentioned at the bottom of the hour, we'll or in the second half of the show, we'll talk a little NHL playoffs and also NBA, and of course the passing of Bob Lanier. So we again appreciate everybody joining us here as we wait for Jensen to come on the show here. Hopefully we'll have him join shortly. Now bear with me on this as again, I'm a little bit tech savvy, not real tech savvy. I'm a work in progress here. So actually, I think we've got him right now. Jensen, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, we had a great draft. Let's get right into it, man. We had a great draft with the Lions. In my opinion, I thought they had a fantastic draft, getting Hutchinson. It was so funny, Jensen, Jacksonville made that pick, and then all of a sudden, boom, Detroit had the pick in within 3 minutes, and as we found out, Brad Holmes was on the phone with Hutchinson before Goodell even got off the stage with the number one pick.
Yep. I think, watching that whole thing develop that night and everything, I think, we didn't know who was going number one, right? We kind of did, right, but we really didn't. It was like one of those situations where it's like, oh my God, like Adam Schefter doesn't even know who's going number one at this point. So when I think Trayvon Walker got announced, I think Brad Holmes is like, he just sprinted that thing in immediately and didn't follow the rules and whatever. I don't think he really cared to follow the rules. He got his guy and to be honest, Lou, I don't I'm not in love with the pick. I'm being completely honest.
Talk to me.
I think I am a little afraid of his arm length. I think it's a big deal in the NFL that you having small arms, you're not going to be able to get off blocks as easy as in college just because you have a high motor. I think you have to be a little bit more technical sound at the NFL level. But if he can come in and be a 9-10 sack guy, he'll fit this team perfectly and there will be no complaints from anybody. But I think him staying home is just – it's a good pick in that facet. But I would have leaned towards Kayvon Thibodeau in my opinion. But
okay.
Yeah.
Now, how much do you think there was any serious talk at all about the Lions drafting a quarterback in the first round?
No, I think it was smoke and mirrors to get somebody to make some outrageous offer, maybe to come up and take him. As we saw, Malik Willis didn't even go in the first 2 rounds. So, Kenny Pickett went, right? We had one quarterback. So
yeah.
I think it was all smoke and mirrors. I think Brad Holmes did a good job trying to get somebody to make a move up and try to see if they could get people to be scared. But no, that was all smoke and mirrors.
Getting back to Hutchinson, you heard the stories about Thibodeau or whatever from Oregon. He was falling in the draft. Well, he didn't fall as far as a lot of people thought.
Yep.
That game against Georgia, did that have any thinking in your mind to maybe swaying you away from wanting them to get Hutchinson?
So I actually at PFF we took a deep dive into that game, right? You're facing the best team in college football, Michigan, Big Ten, SEC. Like we know what's going on there. If you really break down that game, Hutchinson was being chipped almost every play. They would bring in 22 personnel, they would bring in heavy guys, and they would chip them. And actually, I would say David Ojobu had the better game in that game just because he was singled up. But Hutchinson, there was that one play that went viral, right? The guard pulled across, smacked him right in the face, and driven him back. Well, come on, that's one play, right? That happens to everybody, the best of everybody. So did it sway me a little bit? I didn't think maybe a top 2 overall pick should maybe look like that. I thought maybe he should dominate that game. But it's hard. It's just like Aaron Donald, right? He gets doubled every time. There's certain guys that just get doubled, and they may not have the greatest stat. Well, I mean, Aaron Donald has the greatest stats, but like you're freeing up somebody else, and that's what Hutchinson did in college, and everybody else could profit off of that. And he was just fine. I wouldn't put the Georgia game much. I've watched it 4 times from all different angles, and he did fine. If you actually watch it, there's a play in that game where he diagnosed the screen pass phenomenally. He was fine. So no, it didn't sway me at all.
I think that I don't care who is going to play Georgia, not taking anything away from them, from Michigan, but I think anybody that would have played Georgia in that semifinal game, Georgia looked like a team on a mission in the semifinals and the finals. So I don't blame Hutchinson for that game at all. It was like men playing with boys. And unfortunately, we could have a whole nother broadcast about the SEC and everybody else. I think Georgia was just by far the superior team.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yep. Easy.
Well, we continue in the first round. We know the Lions had a couple of picks, and, I was shocked. It was funny because with my schedule, as far as work and everything, I watched the Lions make that pick. It got to be about 9:00, and my dad was down with me, and I went to bed, and I was just about to sleep. My dad says, "Hey, the Lions just made a trade," and I went, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah,
and they traded, with the Vikings, and I thought, "Wow, who are they going to pick?" And when I saw this, I got to tell you, I was stoked. Jameson Williams, to me, I think they're in such a good spot with him, Jensen, because obviously they don't have to start him right away. And I think he's the playmaker that Detroit has been missing, since Calvin retired.
Exactly. Honestly, let's take a couple steps into this. You trade with a division rival, right? That's kind of unheard of. You don't hear that a lot. But I think Brad, obviously, this didn't happen overnight. Okay, this was obviously discussed before. They had a target in mind. I'm sure they had dialogue with those teams, and this is what it came to be. And I want to kind of, just for viewers, I just want to say I've heard a lot just from like different radio shows and things that people are like, "Oh, he's just a product of an Alabama. He couldn't crack the lineup at Ohio State." Well, here's my thing: the two guys that he couldn't crack at Ohio State, guess what? They got drafted before him. Okay, that's how good the Ohio State is. And this guy would have crushed the 40 time. He would have broke the record at the time. I wouldn't have been even close. He's faster than Tyreek Hill. He's that fast. He can take a bubble screen and he can go 85 yards. And all Jared Goff has to do this year is just put him on. Just put it on him and he'll make the play for you. And it was a phenomenal pick. Now, here's my question to you, Lou, and I've heard this a lot. Would you rather have Hutchinson and Jameson Williams, or would you rather have kept the pick and have Hutchinson and like a Lewis Cine at 32 and then draft like a Josh Pascal at 34 and kept your picks?
No.
Where are you at on that?
I love what happened here.
Okay.
I love Williamson. I watched him in college. I never thought that Detroit had a shot to get him. I thought maybe if he was available at 32 because of his injury, that would be the only reason he fell. But I look at these stats that he had last year. 19.9 yards after the catch, or yards per catch. He averaged 47.6 yards per touchdown reception. I mean, that's the playmaker Detroit needs. I know they've got a good stable of receivers. They got St. Brown. They've got Reynolds. They've got Quintez Cephas coming back. Of course, they got the tight end. I want to call him Hutchinson, but Hawkinson. And, they got they're going to be loaded. I mean, they're going to have some playmakers. But I think Williams can be that number one guy, or at least number two when he comes in. And they're going to have some playmakers. And I just, I'm excited for him. And I just think it was a great move. I think it was a great trade. I love what Holmes has been doing. I'm excited, and like I said at the top, I'm a masochist. I say it every year. Detroit's going to win 10 games. And I'm not saying that yet this year, but boy, these first two picks to me were lights out, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were phenomenal. I think if you would have said, and you can argue, I mean, I think some people will argue that, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Drake London are better than Jameson Williams. And I'm just going to go off PFF analytics because I'm an analytical guy. The Lions got the best defensive end and the best wideout in the draft. That simple, according to the stats. So that's, if you can do that, you're doing something correct.
We're joined by Jensen Riffle from Pro Football Focus, our Detroit Lions insider, here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Hey, again, want to welcome everybody here watching us from the Belly Up Sports community. I'm glad to be a part of it, and really looking forward to some exciting things coming up here this year as part of the Extravaganza podcast version. We're going to hop around on different nights, probably stick with Wednesday nights here during the summer, but we're going to hop around. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we invite you to come on board and be a part of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family here at Belly Up Sports. Jensen, going to the second round, they got Pascal with that pick. And I got to tell you again, fired up about that. I was surprised he was available at 46 when Detroit was able to get him in day 2. Talk a little bit about him.
I'll be honest, a lot of people don't know about him per se. He plays in kind of a smaller school in the SEC in Kentucky, football wise. But we at PFF had him graded as the highest interior run defender. The Lions, what they're going to do is if the defensive line coach from the Lions, Todd Walsh, said that they played what we call a read front last year. So wherever the guard would step, that's what they would just trace their steps. Well, this year they're playing an attacking front. And I think they had to go a read front because of what Patricia just left them with, about as bare of a cupboard as you could possibly have. So to have, Levi Ozarike and Akeem McNeil and now with Josh Pascal with a Charles Harris and a Julian Okwara and a Romeo Okwara, there was depth there now. And then you throw in a Hutchinson who's just going to go after and get it. Josh Pascal will fit into this phenomenal. He is perfect off stunts. If you can get him on T&E stunts, you can play him in a 3 technique and have him wrap around guys. He is going to be a force, and I expect him to do, massive things. I heard from some teams that they had this guy as like number 25, 26 on their draft board, and he went all the way at 46. And for Brad to, especially after the trade with Minnesota, to still get his guy at 46 is that's how you make your money as a general manager.
Do you see him as a day 1 starter?
I do.
Okay.
I do see him. He might be a little bit of a rotational guy at first, just because we do have depth there now, which is crazy to say, but we do have some depth there. So, but I do see him. I see him somewhere, depending on what teams we play in, they'll post it out depending on packages. But I do see him being at least a 30 to 35 snap guy a game on the defensive side of the ball. So
that's not bad to start out as a rookie. I'd take that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. You can't be mad.
And finally, I want to take a look at the 3rd round pick that Detroit got at 97 with Kirby Joseph from Illinois. We watched him. Watching Big Ten. I honestly agree with some of the prognosticators on NFL.com and ESPN. They say that he could push Tracy Walker day 1, and I've had my ups and downs with Tracy Walker. I think he makes some good plays, but I also think it's like he falls asleep sometimes back there. Maybe it's just that Lion aura of not having a very good pass defense. What do you think about Kirby Joseph? Give me your insight. Give me your thoughts on that pick in the 3rd round.
Kirby Joseph was a little surprising to me because he only started 1 year at Illinois as a safety. He was a special teams player for the first 3 years, and he was back and forth between a wideout and a defensive back. So he had a lot on his plate at his time in Illinois. And I think when Lovie Smith left and Brett Bielema came in, they kind of changed him around a little bit and moved him, strictly to the defensive side of the ball. But the kid can play. He's a playmaking, ball hawking safety. He's not going to come up and be that bone crushing tackler, but he is going to turn over the football. And as we see most of the time in the National Football League, whoever wins the turnover margin most of the time wins the game, right? Right. He is going to be a playmaking safety. I actually think he's going to push Will Harris more than he's going to push Tracy Walker.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I think that is because, honestly, and I don't like to take bold takes on May 11th, but I will be shocked if Will Harris is on this football team.
Wow.
When we enter the season in September. He's had enough opportunities, and I think the Lions are looking to add. I wouldn't be surprised after June 1st cuts here if the Lions add another safety. I know they added the Baltimore kid, the Elliott kid, and now they have Kirby Joseph and Tracy Walker, and even CJ Moore is back going to play a special teams role. So they do have some options back there. But Kirby Joseph's going to play. He's going to be active. He's going to play. And for you to get any snaps out of a round 3 kid at number 97 in anything, like we saw it last year, how many injuries did the Lions have, right? We had 6th round guys. We had UDFAs playing big moments. So, and to have I heard Joey Jacobs will be coming back sooner rather than later. And so this kid's going to be taught by some good people. Aubrey Pleasant's one of the best secondary coaches in the league. Aaron Glenn speaks for itself.
Right.
This kid's going to be put in a great spot, and I expect him. He's a third-round pick. He's going to be a dominant specials player. He's done it. That's going to be like his main focus this year. But he will be thrown in some. If they go nickel or some dime stuff, he'll be thrown in there.
Couple more things draft related before we get into the upcoming Lions schedule. Now, around the NFC North, were you surprised at what the direction that the Packers took? I know everybody said that they wanted to get a playmaker for Aaron Rodgers. They didn't do that in the first round. They shored up their defense, and now they go. They get the kid from North Dakota State in the second round, I believe. Yep. Did that surprise you at all?
I honestly thought the way that first round stacked up for them, it couldn't have gone any worse for them.
Mm-hmm.
When that run of wideouts came, they were probably sitting there trying to move up, but there ain't nobody that are going to move up. I think there's a consensus in the league of like, why do we want to give Aaron Rodgers another weapon, right? Why do we want to do that? We're not going to make a move with you. And and then now I'm not saying Christian Watson isn't going to be a good football player. I think he's very talented out of North Dakota State. He's not one of the elite ones though, but he is. Aaron Rodgers can make anybody look good, right? So, but they did take a weird path. But honestly, I think Green Bay needs to shore up that offensive line. They need to protect Rodgers. They need to be able to. They're getting old. Like David Bakhtiari is getting old. I think he only played one game last year in the regular season. Maybe got some time in the San Francisco playoff game. I'll be shocked if Aaron Rodgers finishes out this contract with the Green Bay Packers. I think he's going to get frustrated, and he's going to see that the weapons are kind of declining. But Ian Rappaport made a good point yesterday on the Pat McAfee show that they all looking to move Jordan Love. Maybe a second or third round pick would get him out of there, and that might make Aaron a little bit more happy. But for them to at least get one wideout for Aaron, I think the complaining from him will stop. I think he can see, okay, they did target somebody for me, but now it's my job to make this kid out to what he needs to be.
Well, their defense has improved, so they're going to have to win a lot of games 10-7, I guess.
Yep.
You brought up Jordan Love. I got to circle back real quick about the quarterback situation with Detroit. Yeah. Jared Goff, I think he's above average. He's not a superstar, but I think he's got an opportunity to improve this year with Detroit in year 2. But my question is going to be, it's proven that you got to have a decent backup. And with all due respect to Tim Boyle and David Blau, I don't see it. And that's what worries me if Goff gets injured. You talk about the June 1st cut date. There's all these rumors out there with, a guy like Baker Mayfield or Nick Foles maybe. I don't know. Do we want to bring in the circus of Baker Mayfield, or do you see the Lions doing anything at the quarterback position to kind of shore that up behind Jared Goff?
I think they should.
Yeah.
I think they definitely should. I mean, I would say Jared's job this year is put it on people and not get hit by a bus. Just take care of yourself and stay healthy. But we saw it. Tim Boyle played how many games last year? He played a handful of games.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did too bad when he went to Seattle. I think the Atlanta game, the last throw of the game, was one of the most worst. It was terrible throw right to the linebacker. But he's serviceable. But if the Lions are serious about winning football games with somebody behind Jared Goff, now to answer your question, Lou, Baker Mayfield's a no-go for me. I think he's bad for the locker room.
I agree.
think he's selfish individual. I don't like to, obviously talk about players' character, but there's a reason why he hasn't made it to where he is. He had people around him. He had Landry, Beckham. He had people around him to make him successful, and he didn't. So Nick Foles, I think, could get it done. I don't want to go down the Chase Daniels route. We already went down that route. That was way too expensive, and I don't want to go down that route again. But I think June 1st, you will see somebody come in here and at least push Tim Boyle for that second string job.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I hope so, because I like Jared Goff a lot. I think that he can win some games for Detroit, but he's also, if he gets dinged up or hurt, we're in trouble. So real quick, I want to kind of touch on the schedule coming up for Detroit. I know it's released tomorrow, but you look at what they've got, and I think they've got the 5th easiest rated schedule.
Yes.
Last year, what was it? 3rd toughest. They started out 0-7. No, granted they lost one of the games on a 66-yard field goal, but I look at some of these games, and again, Mr. Optimism here, Pollyanna optimism. I was looking at it about an hour and a half ago, and I think, God, they could win 10 games.
Yeah.
It's possible. No, the early rumor I heard for Thanksgiving is Buffalo.
That's correct.
Have you heard anything? Have you heard any leaks on, for example, when is Detroit going to play the Evil Empire, Green Bay? Have you heard anything?
I've heard week 1 is at Chicago, 1 o'clock on Fox at Chicago.
Okay.
I think that's the best time to play Chicago.
I agree.
Best time to go to Chicago. Thanksgiving is actually, yes, it is Buffalo.
Okay.
And the reason, Buffalo, who doesn't want to watch Josh Allen, right?
Oh, God, no. I agree.
National holiday. Everybody's going to be tuned into that. I haven't heard a ton of other leaks. I've also heard the last game of the year is Minnesota, at Minnesota.
Okay.
I've heard that.
It's indoors.
And then I've also heard Jacksonville, week 4, at Jacksonville on Thursday Night Football.
Wow. Okay.
So that will be considered a primetime game, which doesn't happen often for Detroit, that they get 2 Thursday games in a season. I don't expect the Lions to be on Monday Night Football this year.
Nah.
I don't. Maybe the only thing that I could see is because they're on Hard Knocks and people fall in love with Hard Knocks and they want to see them on Monday Night Football. But let's be real. Nobody's putting a 3-13-1 football team on Monday Night Football. This doesn't happen very often.
No, I agree. I know they had a great draft, but you're right. The only possible game I could see them on Monday Night Football would be against a Green Bay or maybe Dallas, but Dallas is going to be on so often on prime time, good or bad. But again, I look at this schedule, they've got Philadelphia at home. They're improved, obviously Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago. They've got, let's see, they've got Jacksonville at home, Seattle at home. That's a winnable game this year. They do go to Dallas. That worries me, even though I think Dallas took a step backwards.
100%.
But, I got a feeling I like the schedule. I think it's a little more fair. It was a head scratcher how difficult that damn thing was last year.
Yes. I'll tell you, Lou, and I'm going to have another bold take for you here.
All right.
Dan Campbell's going to win Coach of the Year in the National Football League. Okay, he's going to go from 3. He's going to go from 3 wins to about 9 wins.
Yeah.
He will. I believe that they've added enough talent. It's going to be this coaching staff in year 2. The things I heard today from DJ Shark and St. Brown about the way that they've been loving
about him.
Yeah, they love the coaching.
Wow.
They love the coaching of Ben Johnson, the new offensive coordinator, and him and Goff have been, they've been all of them have been in California practicing together. I think it's a different feel than what it was with the Quinn and Patricia era. These guys were they hated coming into work, and Dan Campbell is now making it. Not that a job should always be fun, right? But he's making it okay for these guys right now. And I look at this schedule, and obviously you have the divisional opponents, right? That's just basic. But you play the NFC East. The NFC East is arguably one of the easiest divisions in football.
100%.
And going to Dallas, I hate to bring up the playoff game and that disastrous flag and all that, but that the officials are going to be against this. Something's going to happen in that game that'll completely out of our control.
Right.
But Dallas, I agree with you, Lou. They took a step back. They took a step back. And I believe that if this is the year the Lions are going to beat Dallas, it's going to be this year that they can get Dallas in Dallas. New England will be tough. I've also heard, don't quote me on this, but I've also heard New England week 6 in New England. That's not confirmed, but I have heard that leaked. And then Carolina, they got a quarterback situation going on right now that nobody really knows. That's a winnable football game. I think Jacksonville's a winnable football game. Seattle, you're not facing Russell Wilson anymore. You might be getting Drew Lock. So why not, right? And I think, with Hard Knocks and everything that's going on, Ford Field's going to be probably crazier than ever that we've seen in a while. And
Wow.
I expect these guys to, if everybody can stay healthy and play healthy football, this team is going to compete and play meaningful games when it matters.
Well, Jensen, I really appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun. What have you got up next with Pro Football Focus?
Right now, it's more just we're getting ready for the June 1st cuts. We'll get a lot of reports in from teams just wanting some evaluation. And then we'll get some rookie minicamp film sent to us to kind of evaluate. We'll get then OTAs will start, and we'll be in training camp, and we'll be right at this thing. And so right now, I'll be honest, we got some time off here. I've taken some time off of work and things like that. But we'll once these guys start getting back to the facilities, we'll start whatever they need. We'll start getting to these reports and start grading it and start hitting the analytics, and we'll be on our way. And next thing you know, I think it's about 114 days or something like that till we start back up here. So,
well, the excitement will pick up tomorrow night, of course, with the official announcement of the schedule. But then before we know it, training camp's going to be here. And Jensen, I'd love to get you back on.
Yes, sir.
Right before training camp. Maybe we can preview Hard Knocks together and see how different the Lions may look and what the temperature is down there. So, again, Jensen, thanks for taking time out tonight to be with us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And keep up the great work, man. You do excellent work, always full of information. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Jensen Riffle joining us here from Pro Football Focus. He's our Detroit Lions insider as well. Does a lot of special teams analytics, as he was there down at the Combine too. And some great stories there as he covers that every year for Pro Football Focus. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And again, I want to say how excited we are here at the Extravaganza to be a part of the Belly Up sports community. They said a long time ago this website would go belly up. Well, they haven't, and they're still going alive and strong. Check out our website, bellyupsports.com. We've got a lot of great articles on there daily. And check out our podcast network. I've had a chance to work in the past with the Craft Brew Sports guys. Any kind of sport you want, we've got so many podcasts here that cover baseball, football, basketball. We're going to have, in hockey, of course, the four majors, and then, of course, pro wrestling, college sports, college hockey, you name it. And I am blessed and excited to be a part of this community that we call Belly Up Sports. And again, we're going to be on here in the summer, probably on Wednesday nights throughout the summer. And then once fall hits, we'll probably switch the date. I'm not sure on that because I've got commitments with high school sports that I do on Wednesday nights. But we will be probably a weekly event like we always have been. A little bit slower maybe in the summertime as we all like to recharge. But we want to thank you for coming along with us and joining me here as well on Belly Up Sports. And we want to thank Jensen Riffle for coming on board tonight, talking a little Detroit Lions draft. He's got me stoked. Whenever we get the draft done, now we know that the schedule is going to be released in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be tomorrow night. And that'd be interesting to see the Lions on a Thursday night football game. Besides Thanksgiving, I can't remember the last time the Detroit Lions have been on Thursday night football. And so a Jacksonville game, not exactly superpowers, but, that's we're going to see Trevor Lawrence, and we're going to see Aiden Hutchinson and, Trayvon Walker. And I don't know if it's week 4, we probably won't see Jamison Williams, but you never know. Some camps are saying that he could be in training camp. I wouldn't push it if it was me, but if he's healthy, why not? Let's get him out there. But I don't think they're going to do that. If he could play maybe week 6 or week 7, that'd be pretty cool too. I'd love that as well. So anyways, thanks again to Jensen Riffle for joining us here live on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. As we roll along here tonight, let's switch gears now. Let's take the old football. Let's put that away. Let's get the hockey puck going here. Stanley Cup Playoffs are in full swing. The first round has been, it's been a lot of, there's been some great series in this opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I faded off to sleep last night. Again, for those of you that don't know, with my day job or my quote unquote real job, I work as a pop delivery person. So I'm up at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn. Like tomorrow morning, for example, 3:00 is when my alarm clock goes off. So needless to say, I sometimes don't make it through the end of the first night or the first of the doubleheaders in the NHL playoffs, or NBA for that matter. And, I was fading to sleep last night, and I saw that the Maple Leafs were losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I thought, here we go again. I've got, a lot of my friends that are Toronto Maple Leaf fans. I feel so sorry for them. 3-1, they were down last night with the series tied at 2. And lo and behold, I turned it on and saw that they tied it up. And just as I was about to fade off to sleep, I heard the TV say they got the go-ahead goal, and they ended up winning 4-3. So Toronto now with an opportunity, up 3-2 over Tampa. The 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions are on the brink of elimination. Can John Cooper rally his troops to get through the opening round? What a dynamite series that is. Another team that I'm surprised, although depending on some of the hockey types that I talk to, they're not surprised, is, I was talking to a friend of mine this afternoon, Brad Way, who is a huge hockey fan. And we were talking about, he said he's not surprised. Edmonton and the Kings. Another, Toronto Maple Leafs of the West. I can't believe they lost last night. 5-4 in overtime now. They're down 3-2 to an upstart LA Kings team. The Kings have been playing well towards the end of the regular season, but a lot of us thought they were probably a year away. But now they've got that opportunity to close out the Edmonton Oilers, the number 2 seed in the Western Conference of the NHL. And can LA close it out? Can Edmonton dig down deep and pull one out? I'm. If I said I wasn't surprised, I'd be lying. I thought Edmonton would win this one in 5 or 6. No, their backs are against the wall. And I look at some of these other series that are going on. Rangers and Pittsburgh. Now, this one, the Rangers got to win tonight, and I'll tell you why. DraftKings, I made a 8-series parlay. What I did was I took eight teams plus 2.5 in this series, 2.5 games. Calgary. I know these. I didn't go out on a huge limb on these, but I tried to bet with my head the best I could. Calgary, Edmonton, Colorado, Washington. No, I'm sorry, Florida, Carolina. I took all the favorites, which I thought were the favorites, anyways. And the one that I was stumped on, I didn't know. I went back and forth. Was Pittsburgh and New York. I thought the Blue Shirts could at least win 2 games. They win that, then I get my 2-1 odds bet. It'll cash out. They got to win tonight. I don't care if they lose the series, but they got to win so they at least make it go 6 games. Pittsburgh, I didn't know if their goaltending was really going to hold up. And I thought Shearskin was going to be able to handle them for the Rangers. But obviously that hasn't been the case. And now Pittsburgh's on the verge of knocking out the Rangers. The Blue Shirts got to win at home tonight in Game 5. I know I'm begging, but come on, New York. You got to get it so I win that bet. That would put that series at 3-2 going back to the Igloo, or I always call it the Igloo, to the Paint Center, whatever you want to call it in Pittsburgh for Game 6. But Florida's in trouble. Florida with that high-scoring offense. Washington giving them all they can handle. That's incredible. And, I picked Boston in an upset over Carolina, and I'm beginning to regret that. Although they go to Game 6 in Boston, that I think could still go 7. But, boy, we've had some great opening round series. This is what it's all about. You can have, I love the Super Bowl, but we all know that the hype, 80 to 90% of the time, the hype is better than the game in the Super Bowl. Now, last year it wasn't, obviously, with the Rams winning. But these Stanley Cup playoffs, we could see 3 or 4 Game 7s very easily. And I mean, that to me could be I would be in heaven. And I think we could see Carolina, Boston go 7 games. We could go Toronto and Tampa going 7 games. LA and Edmonton, I think, could go 7 games because I think Edmonton can dig down deep and win that one. The Wild and Calgary, or I beg your pardon, the Wild and St. Louis could go 7. Calgary and Dallas, I mean, there's so many chances for these series to go 7 games. I mean, even the Blue Shirts in Pittsburgh, who knows? It's that close. That close. And it's been just so much fun to watch, and really looking forward to that and seeing what unfolds in week number 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But the surprises obviously are Pittsburgh. I'm surprised by it. I knew it was going to be close, but I was surprised by it. Edmonton's got to be my biggest surprise. I thought they'd have this series wrapped up already. I thought they're going to win it in 5. It's just Connor McDavid and the boys up there. I don't know. Just really, really shocked by that. Let's stay in hockey real quick before we talk a little NBA and wrap up the show tonight. Barry Trotz got fired the other night, obviously Monday. He got let go. Or actually, maybe it was Tuesday. Within the last 48 hours, head coach of the New York Islanders. Nothing surprises me with Lou Lamoriello, but I didn't see this one coming. Now, you're hearing stories that, I've talked to a couple of people that I know in the hockey world that said that he may have lost the locker room and there was some turmoil in there. But I got to tell you, Barry Trotz, if he wants, will not be out of work long. Would I love to have him in Detroit and Hockey Town? Sure, I would. But I don't know if he really wants to start over with a young group again. He did that in Nashville. I honestly think he's going to end up in Winnipeg, in his hometown. I mean, the Blackhawks are there. I don't think I don't know if he'd want to go there. I think his best bet to go to win would probably be Winnipeg. Who knows with Florida? If they get bounced against Washington, they may take the interim tag off and not give it to him. So he may go there. I mean, that's a ready-made team. That you talk about talent right there. So, I mean, Columbus, who knows? But I was surprised, along with a lot of people, that Trotz got let go. But this is a Lou Lamoriello move right there. He's been known for this. He's always kept a lot of things close to the vest. He is so good at not having things leak out. And he's a different one, that GM. I'm not telling any of you Toronto fans anything different. But I look at my Red Wings. I think that they've improved, but they got a ways to go. And getting rid of Blashill, I think, was the smart thing to do. He was dealt a pretty bad hand. A lot of bad contracts from Kenny Holland. Yzerman's got a lot left to do yet. They're getting closer, but they're still not there yet. I like Nedeljkovic, the goalie for the Rings. I know, and I like what they drafted. Unfortunately for my Wings, they weren't able to get any better than 8th pick in the lottery. Congratulations to the Montreal Canadiens for getting that opening pick. We'll wait and see on that. But as far as my Red Wings, I was kind of hoping that they would get Lane Lambert. He's thought very highly of in the hockey world and the coaching ranks, but that might be who Lou Lamoriello goes after hard. But Steve Yzerman and Lane Lambert, they were teammates, roommates. Who knows? I got a feeling that he might just end up in Detroit. That's who I'm keeping my fingers crossed for. But I do want to say that you know me. You've watched my shows over the years. I don't bash coaches. I don't ask for them to be fired. I especially throughout this, in the middle of the season. I think it's Bush League. I think Jeff Blashill did a pretty damn good job with what he had. And again, he had to absorb a lot of bad contracts. He had to take, they were in salary cap hell for a lot of years. And I thought he did pretty good for what he was dealt with. Steve Yzerman has come in. He's cleaned house a little bit. He's gotten rid of those bad contracts. But his draft picks, I think, we've got Mo Seider, Calder Cup finalist. I think the pieces are coming. And I think this next coach is going to get Detroit in the playoffs within a year or two. Really looking forward to that. So, before we get talking about NBA again, really don't forget tomorrow, Thursday, May 12th, is going to be the schedule release. And we talked to Jennsen Riffel. Some of the leaks are out. It looks like Detroit's going to play Chicago opening day, 1 o'clock in Chicago. I agree with him. I think if you got to play in Chicago, that's the best time of year to play. And it sounds like they're going to be at Minnesota for the last game of the year. That's the leak that he heard. I wonder when Detroit's going to go to Lambeau. That's for years. It was like 6 straight years Detroit ended up playing in Green Bay the last game of the year. Let's hope that Detroit gets Green Bay in Lambeau, maybe the end of September or whatever. And sounds like the rumor that Jensen heard for the Lions was that week 4 is going to be a Thursday night game against Jacksonville. And the Thanksgiving rumor, I've heard this from more than one outlet, and Jensen kind of heard that too. The Buffalo Bills coming to Detroit for Thanksgiving. I know a good friend of mine, one of my coworkers, Buddy Pearson, huge Buffalo Bills fan. He'll be in Detroit watching that game for sure. So anyways, the NBA, all the series are 2-2 heading into Wednesday night at the time of this show. Milwaukee and Boston playing tonight, Game 5 in Boston. Boy, that series gone back and forth. I really thought that Milwaukee had a golden opportunity wasted in Game 4. And I love the Greek Freak, but boy, he pissed off Al Horford, local guy here from Grand Ledge. And boy, did he have a game in Game 4 in Boston, in Milwaukee, to help Boston tie that series up. This is going to go 7 between Milwaukee and Boston, I believe. That's going to be a great series. Some of these other ones, I think Phoenix is going to close out Dallas. I just think they're a more complete team. And, I got to say something real quick about the Heat and Philadelphia. I've been reading a lot of stuff about Joel Embiid coming up, just looking disinterested in that game last night. Now, I saw bits and pieces of it. I didn't watch it. I watched hockey. But I was flipping back and forth. And, I heard, I was listening to Joy Taylor on the Colin Cowherd show, and she was spot on. If you think that the reason he didn't play hard was because he didn't get the MVP, you got rocks in your head. I'm sorry. The guy has an orbital fracture, and he played with a concussion, or he's playing through that, plus his thumb. And he got hit in the face again last night. I mean, the reports I heard was he couldn't even stand light for like 5 days. And the other thing is, you got a guy like James Harden who can't step up and be the leader. That to me that's the big reason why I think Philadelphia is going to lose that. They may find a way to win tomorrow night. They are not going to beat the Heat. So I look at Milwaukee and Boston going 7. My heart says Milwaukee, but the Celtics, our old evil empire from our Piston days, my Piston day, bad boy days back in the late 80s. Something tells me Boston's going to eke this one out. I still am going to root for Milwaukee. I'll stick with it. Not having Middleton's going to, hopefully they can get him back maybe for Game 6. Who knows? And in the other series, Golden State and Memphis, I still am going with Golden State. And I think they can handle Phoenix. I think, I said at the beginning, Golden State and Milwaukee. I'm going to stick with that pick, but I'm not so confident with Milwaukee right now. We'll see what happens tonight in Game 5 if they can pull one out at TD Garden. So, but speaking of the NBA, we had one of my first sports heroes growing up back in the early 70s passed away last night. The Dauber, Bob Lanier, passed away at the age of 73. He got drafted by the Detroit Pistons. I was reading his Wikipedia and reading stories about how he had an opportunity. He was a territorial pick of the New Jersey Nets back in the ABA. That's how they did it. And Butch Van Vredekop, who was the coach and GM of the Pistons back in the early 70s, went and brought his contract to his hotel or his hospital bed. He was recovering from knee surgery. And Detroit drafted the Dauber. And, Detroit, when I first started watching pro sports, my first two heroes were Al Kaline and Bob Lanier. Kaline was Mr. Tiger, and he was the epitome of class with the Detroit Tigers and baseball in the early 70s when I started watching. He was towards the tail end of his career, but I got to see him, in 1972 in the AL divisional playoffs against the mighty Oakland A's. And, my first baseball jersey was number 6. And so that was Al Kaline. But my other hero was Bob Lanier. You had him and Dave Bing, Dave DeBusschere. They had some teams in the early 70s. I first started watching him going up against Lou Alcindor / Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against the Bucks. And, you look back at his career, he had some numbers. His career average was 21 points, I believe. He played injured, sporadic for the most latter part of the 70s. But he had he played on some mediocre at best Detroit teams. But boy, he could bang with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Some of those classic matchups, the playoff series that they had against Golden State and Milwaukee. I can remember trying to stay up late because back then in the 70s, you didn't see games live. And I remember the Detroit station, living up in the Upper Peninsula, we started getting Channel 50 out of Detroit, and they didn't show the Pistons live. So we had to watch them tape delayed. And I can remember Detroit, it seemed like they always played Milwaukee in the first round. And then they would go up against a Golden State team with Al Attles and Garfield Hurd. And oh my God. And I can remember, trying to stay up to listen to it on the radio, getting yelled at by my mom and dad to go to bed. I was like 9 years old, listening to them at 11:30 at night. But Bill Laimbeer could hold his own against anybody. He was tough, but he could score, he could rebound. And, one of the greatest compliments I think I read today was one from Willis Reed, who we all know Willis Reed, New York fame, playing with one leg, coming off from the locker room to help lead the New York Knicks to a world championship back in the early 70s. He said that a healthy Bob Lanier was the second greatest center in the 1970s behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I believe that. For those of you that didn't get a chance to watch Bob Lanier play in the 70s against Kareem, I would love to see what a healthy Bob Lanier would have done. And he ended up finishing his career with Milwaukee, playing with the Bucks, and getting an opportunity to get to the playoffs each year. I know they played in the Western Conference until 1982. Then they had some classic series with Philadelphia and Boston until he retired in 1984. But boy, his presence in the middle with Detroit. I remember they went 52-30, I think. And this is the craziest thing. This was Detroit. This was how jacked up they were back then. They had Sidney Lowe. They had Dave Bing, Bob Lanier. They were loaded, 52-30. I think they made it to the conference semifinals. Then they traded 5 or 6 of their guys. And they went through like 5 coaches in 7 years or something stupid like that. But they still made the playoffs. Well, back then, I remember the one year they made the playoffs with a 36-46 record. And then again, they used to play 2 out of 3 in the opening round of the NBA final or the NBA playoffs. And they would always draw Milwaukee and always lose. And finally, they beat them, and then they went up against the world champion Golden State Warriors. But Bob was a great talent. He got traded in 1980 for Kent Benson and a first-round pick. Boy, Milwaukee fleeced Detroit on that. And he was able, again, to play with Marcus Johnson, Junior Bridgman, and, just to name a few. They had a great team. But unfortunately, they were up against, a Philadelphia 76ers team with Dr. J and Moses Malone and all of that. So he He played on some good teams in Milwaukee, but unfortunately they couldn't get over the hump. Then, of course, they went up against that Boston Celtics team with Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and, Kevin McHale, you name it, and it just wasn't meant to be. But after his playing career was over, he was also president of the NBA Players Association, worked a lot in the NBA offices, and you never heard a bad thing about Bob Lanier, one of the nicest guys. And he was always affable with everybody. I read a nice article from Jim Brandstetter, who said when he would interview Bob Lanier, he would always ask about, he always asked Jim about how his wife was doing. Bob was one of the good guys. And he was just a larger than life figure for me growing up in the early 70s to watching pro basketball, just getting into watching sports with my mom and dad. And he was, again, one of my top 2 all-time favorite sports athletes that I started watching. He and Al Kaline in the Detroit area. So Bob, rest in peace. Thanks for the memories, man. Really appreciate it. I always think fondly of you, matching hooks with sky hooks with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the amount of punishment that you took underneath, is, again, played for St. Bonaventure, got them to the Final Four in 1970. He was injured. Who knows if he would have stayed healthy, they could have possibly played UCLA in that championship game. But nevertheless, he had a great NBA career, 15 years, averaged 20 points a game. And I think it was 7 years in a row with Detroit. He averaged over 20. And he's a well-deserved member of the NBA Hall of Fame. Bob Lanier passed away at the age of 73. Well, hey, this has been great. First time, actually, my first broadcast, episode 2 of the Captain Lou Extravaganza podcast style. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out to watch us. This will be, again, on my YouTube channel. You can check it out anytime you want. I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We're going to have some great things coming up. We're just getting started here on Belly Up Sports. I want to thank Blaine and Mike and everybody, the crew at Belly Up, for welcoming me here on the network, and just excited to be a part of the crew. And for those of you that are watching for the first time, I hope you enjoyed the show. We're going to gear it to having at least 1, maybe 2 guests from here on out each week on the show. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep it at an hour, and if we, maybe we'll expand it a little bit longer. But we're going to talk some baseball the next time we come up, and maybe some Stanley Cup hockey as well. So we hope to stick around for that. And we'll be back next week. Check out my website, or check out our website is still in the works, captainlou.net. But check out bellyupsports.com. A lot of great articles on there. A lot of great feature writers from fantasy to baseball to football, all the major sports. We've got a great lineup of fantasy sports writers and podcasters, football, baseball, you name it. Again, really excited to be part of the crew. And I want to thank them and want to thank you as well. Well, that's going to do it here tonight. I appreciate everybody for taking time out to watch us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. I want to thank Jensen Riffle from Pro Football Focus for taking time out as well tonight to be on the show. Captain Lou saying, hey, this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us again here live on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on Belly Up Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.